Exactly 1 year ago today, we were getting ready for a snowstorm that we knew would be a big one. But we had no idea just how much that storm would impact our city and our organization. They called it Snowmageddon. For our city, it was one of the biggest operational challenges we have ever faced. The storm that hit us on January 17th was unprecedented, certainly in recent history. Compounding our problem, the entire snow season had been extraordinary as well. The week before Snowmageddon, our team had a good sense of what was coming, and preparations were in overdrive. The snowfall of January 17th and 18th, estimated at 78 to 79 centimeters at the airport, broke the previous record of snowfall in one day, 68.4 centimeters, in April 1999. The record-breaking storm wasn't a normal event. The event was basically a direct hit from what is known as a weather bomb, a term used to describe weather systems that are, in some ways, in the same category as tropical storms and hurricanes. On January 17th at 11 a.m., I declared a state of emergency. States of emergency are not that common in St. John's. In fact, it's been the first time in 34 years that one had been called. It was not a decision that I took lightly. Within the hour, St. John's and most of the Northeast Avalon was essentially closed for business. From that first night, I was amazed and proud of the way our staff managed this crisis. From our plow operators and support team, who worked tirelessly long hours to clear our city streets, to our firefighters who responded to emergencies, including a potential avalanche at the Battery, to our communication staff, who responded to over 90 media inquiries and issued hundreds of communiques through our website and social media channels, to our Access Center staff, who answered thousands of calls and emails with requests for information and support, to all our staff for stepping up, pitching in, contacting clients, and assisting in any way possible. Thank you. Snowmageddon once again demonstrated your commitment to quality service and dedication to the people of St. John's.
During Snowmageddon, the Access Center did receive a very large influx of calls. It was very busy here. All the residents were very calm. For what we were dealing with, it was a very stressful situation. But between the residents and Access Center and Roads Department, everyone worked very well together, and we figured out a very difficult situation we hadn't dealt with before.
Well, the blizzard that occurred in January, during the evening and the overnight, the snowfall rates and the wind combined were something that we haven't seen in quite a while. We had to change our focus from our normal snow clearing routes to actually just strictly providing emergency assistance for fire and ambulance to ensure that they could respond to the many 911 calls they received that night. We also provided a lot of assistance to Newfoundland Power because they had a lot of calls for downed lines and power and that kind of thing. I want to extend thank you to our snow clearing staff who were out there. They came in Friday morning. We were unable to do a shift change, so they worked through the night and we finally got the shift change from the next morning. I also want to extend a thank you to our fleet maintenance staff who kept us going, kept us on the road in the weeks and months that followed. Without them, we couldn't do it. Also, we started reaching out to other divisions, departments within the city for help as we cleaned up. We didn't have anybody deny our request, and there was really great cooperation as we did the cleanup. So thank you everyone for that.
Everything you can think could be thrown at a fire crew was thrown at our crews that day. The day started off pretty mild, slight snow. By 2 o'clock the snow increased to blizzard conditions, and by 4 o'clock our roads were impassable. And without our snowplow operators, actually we wouldn't have been able to do our work. So I'm going to throw a bouquet out to all those operators because we were able to take care of every call. So there wasn't a call that came in that day that we weren't able to get to because of the efforts of all of the city departments. I recall one of the worst incidents we had that day was a incident out at the Outer Battery where a snow avalanche had occurred. They got to the bottom of Signal Hill for that call, and they got stopped by the snow, so that those crews had to pick up their equipment and basically had to go through neck-high snow to reach the people in the outer battery. So anybody understands that area. On a nice day, you could get there in 10 minutes. It took them 30 minutes up to their neck. So that was extreme weather that those guys had to try to get through.
The state of emergency was fully lifted on Saturday, January 25th, although exceptions were made throughout the week to allow essentially life-sustaining operations to continue, from opening pharmacies, doctors' offices, and supermarkets for limited time periods, to permitting taxis and home fuel oil trucks, the port and the airport to open ahead of the official release of the full state of emergency. We saw our role as to help these organizations offer their critical services and coordinate with them to the best of our ability in this challenging time. It's entirely possible that we'd still be digging out from Snowmageddon if it wasn't for the support the city received from other municipalities and the provincial government, who offered us equipment and personnel to help with the cleanup. Having access to those additional resources made all the difference, and we thank you for your support. We also are grateful for the support of the Canadian military, who flew in troops to help the most vulnerable dig out their homes. But more than anything, I'm proud of how we as a community helped one another during this crisis. Snowmageddon demonstrated some gaps in the social system, particularly around food security and ability to access basic emergency services. This reminded us all that many are at great risk when basic services are impacted. We saw neighbors helping neighbors, people exhibiting great patience with long lineups and delays in normal services, and individuals and groups pitching in to ensure food and basic supplies were delivered to the most vulnerable. Watching the news one evening, a taxi driver was asked about providing free rides to those in need. The reporter asked him, "Why are you doing that?" His response summed up what makes our community special. Why wouldn't I? Thank you, St. John's. Let's work to ensure that the lessons learned from the storm of last January are acted upon. And let's always remember the spirit of community we saw during that storm.